Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, we have entered the third round. We have seen one game from each series, and do you have a East or West? Which one you want to start with? What are your thoughts on these first two games?
We can start with the East. I think between the two games, this one's probably got the least amount of stuff to talk about from it.
Definitely less close game.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll still kind of close.
It was still
like
pretty
up
close because
until
it was 1-0 with like 4 minutes left in the third or something, right?
Yeah, and then just a horrible play by the Rangers there by Shesterkin and I guess kind of Lafreniere, but like it's really on Shesterkin. Like I don't know why he came out to play it.
Oh, I guess yeah. That was a weird play.
Give it away, like it just kind of after that it was just like, oh no, like something's gonna happen here, and then
it wasn't great.
But it goes Lafreniere though.
I was gonna say I often feel very bad for the defensemen, the guys who have the puck bounce off them and into their own net, but it almost it halfway looked like a redirection. Like the way he stuck his stick out, like I'm not sure what he was, if he was just like, he didn't look like he was trying to get possession of the puck. I guess he was just trying to get a stick on it and get it so it wasn't a full pass across, but like
it almost kind of seems to me
you
like
got to be aware when you're in front of your net because he was right there.
Yeah. The first thing it reminded me of when I saw it was when I can't remember what game it was in the Vancouver Edmonton series, but in overtime, the Bouchard shot that was coming through, and from the camera behind Ian Cole, he just kind of stood there staring at the puck the whole time as it was coming right towards his stick, and it redirects off him and in. And it seems like that's kind of what Lafreniere was doing. He was just watching the play, and he might not even have known what he was doing with his stick at the time. He was just in awe of what his goalie just did or something. Because, yeah, like you said, it was a very, very weird play there.
Weird play, like real ball breaker of a goal. 1-0 with a few minutes left. You're trying so hard to get that one goal, first goal of the series, and that'll tie it up. And then you let that in, and then I didn't even see the third one. I'm assuming it was an empty netter.
Empty netter by Sam Bennett.
Yeah, and that's tough. So 3-0 doesn't quite
good.
Tell the whole story, but yeah, Bobrovsky looked really good.
That's a hell of a game one from Florida.
Yeah, holding the Rangers to 0 goals. Like, when was the last time they were held without a goal? Like,
yeah, it was just like like the Rangers weren't great, sure, but I think it was more so just Florida was. They came in ready to play, and they were making sure that they were at least taking one, going back home for games 3 and 4, and now they've got a nice opportunity to maybe go back home up 2-0 because what they were doing, it was working for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and very similar in the West. They're the team with home ice advantage, losing the first game. This one a lot closer. What was the final score? Was it 4-3?
3-2 in overtime.
3-2 in overtime. Yeah, in double overtime.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It was just at the very start of double overtime. McDavid ends it very, kind of just very like to start the first overtime. Originally wasn't called. I think it was one of the linesmen actually came in to call it to the refs. And so then, start of the first overtime, McDavid gets a double minor for high sticking. The Oilers were able to kill it off. And then to start the second overtime, instead of taking a penalty, McDavid scores the winner there.
Yeah, and man, that's got to suck to be a Dallas fan in that arena. Like, not only do you want to see your team win in the playoffs, obviously, but you stay for the whole game. You wait the extra 20 minutes. You watch 20 more minutes, which is really closer to 30, 35 minutes of extra hockey in the overtime. Another 20 minutes of intermission just for them to drop the puck. McDavid goes and scores. Like, that's...
It's tough. I didn't even think of it that way. That is tough for them.
Like, the thought of waiting there for that entire extra intermission just for McDavid to go out there, score, and then you're going home upset anyway. Like,
yeah,
that's That's really too bad. And the Stars are by no means out of the series. I think
They
they're
lost
gonna
game
come
one at
back
home.
really strong next game. But
They lost game one at home every series now so far. They did it against Vegas,
yeah,
Colorado, and now Edmonton. So
yeah,
they're no strangers to being in this position now.
yeah. And you know, me being me, of course I'm gonna make this about the Lightning. But over our 3 years where in a row where we went to the Stanley Cup Finals, we were something like 3-13 or something in our game ones. Like we sucked at our game ones, and it ended up working out. So you don't have to win game one. Like obviously it makes it harder, but you know,
Hmm.
uh considering how close this game was, I mean double overtime in game one. I'm seeing a weird amount of people be like, "Oh man, the Stars look pretty cooked out there." I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
guess there's only 2 series left. There's only 4 teams left, so there's not a lot of hockey left to talk about, unfortunately. As high stakes as the games that are going on are, but so people are grasping at something. You just want to be able to talk about hockey still, right? For as long as it's going on, but uh,
Hmm.
no, this Stars team is shown that they can bounce back, and I expect them to in the next game for sure.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting, and I think this, you know, Dallas lost, not giving them much an excuse, but they were missing Rupe Hintz again tonight, and obviously his presence makes a big difference. But the biggest thing is the fact that um, Wyatt Johnston has had to step into the role that Rupe Hintz had as kind of the top line center. So Wyatt Johnston's having to be out there going up against McDavid and Draisaitl every shift as part of that top line, rather as where Dallas likes to kind of juggle their lines a lot. But if you had Rupe Hintz in there going out there with his regular guys and going up against Edmonton's top guys, that gives Wyatt Johnston a better opportunity to go out there against um, you
Go,
know,
yeah,
more chance against Edmonton's bottom six, and maybe
go
he
out
can
there and try and
generate some
score
more.
against, Ryan McLeod or whoever. Like, yeah, it's
Exactly, yeah.
it's pretty hard to focus on your offense when you're clearly having to defend against like McDavid. Like it's
Yeah, and
you have to be the shutdown guy when you're out there against him.
I thought Wyatt Johnston played really well matched up against either McDavid or Draisaitl, whoever he was out there against. But it's more so just looking at what like the offense he was bringing when he was able to kind of just rotate kind of throughout the lines and get more opportunities against other teams' bottom sixes. He kind of fed it a little bit against Vegas's and then Colorado. So it'll be interesting to see. I haven't heard of exactly what's going on with Hintz, but when he comes back, it'll allow Wyatt Johnston maybe kind of go back into the role he was playing prior.
Yeah, and it sounds like Peter DeBoer did say that he's very hopeful that he'll be back for game two. It sounds so. If he's not for game two, it almost sounds like a guarantee that he'll be back for game three. But they are hopeful for game two, so it sounds like I can't imagine he's 100%. That's not how the playoffs work in coming back to play games, but it sounds like he'll probably play next game.
And whether he's at 100%, 80%, 50%, when he's out there, he's still a difference maker for the team. So
Those top guys in the league generally are like
yeah,
especially in the playoffs, those guys really step up. It's hard for them not to be a factor.
yeah. Only other notes I really have on this game is I thought both goaltenders, I thought Skinner and Ottinger, actually both looked really good. You could argue, Dallas's second goal, there really wasn't much Skinner could do on it. First one, he kind of just got, deked out of his jockstrap there by Jamie Benn. And then with Ottinger, was it the Edmonton's first goal that was kind of the shot blocked by Lindell and went over to Draisaitl in his office there over on the lower half of the circle and puts one in. I kind of watched it. I was like, there wasn't much Ottinger could have done. So
No.
really like a 2-1 overtime game. If you take away those ones that there just wasn't much the goalie could do on them.
Yeah. Yeah, they both played really well, and much like a lot of other people, I'm definitely expecting Ottinger to kind of be that X factor in this series, that
Yeah.
that guy that can really turn the tide, because Skinner's good, but I don't know if he's going to be taking over many games to win them single-handedly for Edmonton. So,
Well, and
but
that save
Ottinger's
Ottinger
definitely
had,
that guy.
like that save Ottinger had in overtime on McDavid. Great play by Chris Tanev too to kind of get his stick in the mix there, but like a terrific save from Ottinger to keep Dallas in it. And I mean, if Dallas end up winning that game, like that's a huge turning point. There is, you know, McDavid, like that's the guy you want having an empty net in overtime out of anyone. And the fact Ottinger is able to make that save and keep his team in it, he did everything he could for them tonight.
Yeah. Another thing I just want to note, what the hell happened to the Tyler Seguin we've saw in the last few years? Like, holy crap, this dude has been so good for them in the playoffs.
He's been an animal for them, and he was the guy who's kind of, I felt bad for to start the playoffs. He had, multiple breakaways against Vegas in the whichever game it was. So many great opportunities. I think he had 36 shots or something in the playoffs before he scored his first goal. And then, once he finally got that first one, he's just been doing his thing, and he hasn't slowed down yet.
Yep, and he had the 2 goals for Dallas tonight. He's been cooking, and it's funny because he's not even a part of that massive core that Dallas really has. Like when people talk about it, they talk about so many different great players they have, but nobody really includes Seguin or Ben because they're kind of from the old guard on an otherwise very young and up and coming team. So now it's Ben and Seguin both actually look better than they have in a while. So it's crazy that they've got all this young talent, and then all of a sudden their old guys are turning back the clock and playing incredible for them as well. Like it's
even Ben had a fantastic game, especially the whole reason Dallas got their first goal was a great play by him to give it to Seguin. And you're right, they've looked terrific so far.
But that's mostly what I got on either of these series. Like I said, there's only the one game for each series, so not a ton to dissect yet. Obviously, McDavid scoring the OT winner, just being that game breaker that we know he is and has been.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of weird because it was like kind of a pass from the corner and he was just out front, right? Like usually it's him setting somebody up for an easy goal, but it almost looked he almost looked like Zach Hyman out there just like waiting for a great pass to smack into the net.
Yeah, I kind of noticed it a couple times from him during the game. He was really it just kind of felt like he had the mentality of just trying to score a goal, because obviously he's gone I think it was like they said it was 5 or 6 games or something straight without a goal, and he just looked like he was on a mission to just make sure he could get at least one and then hopefully start to get on a roll. And I mean, it worked out for him in overtime there, getting a huge winner there for Edmonton to at least take one game on the road.
Yeah, this would have been his 6th game in a row without a goal, so him getting that is pretty good for the Oilers. Not like he hasn't already been on a roll. He's hovering around 2 points per game, a little bit under.
Yeah.
So he's still very much producing, but if he can start putting them in the net on his own as well, that's even scarier.
Yeah, totally, for sure. Other than that, like that's, like you said, not a whole lot we can talk about with these rounds so far, as third round is just getting underway now. So aside from that, we really only have a couple other news around the league. What do you want to do? Do you want to talk about Tampa, or do you want to talk about New Jersey here?
Let's talk about Tampa.
All right. I'll let you set the scene here for us and break it down.
Yeah, so
give us the news.
So, for those of you who haven't been living under the trade block rock, Ryan McDonough is once again a Tampa Bay Lightning. We traded back for him. I'll pull up the entire trade, but I believe it was a 2nd round pick and a 7th round pick from Tampa to the Nashville Predators for a 4th round pick and Ryan McDonough.
Yeah. I don't know the exact years on those picks, so.
Yeah, there's a couple things. The second is next year's second that we're giving them. And then I think the 4th we are getting is Edmonton's. I don't know why they have Edmonton's 4th, but that. And then this year's 7th is what we're giving them. McDonough has 2 years left.
They had so many 7th round picks, so they could afford to give one up.
Way funnier if we captured all 32 7th round picks in the league.
How many do they have now? They still have 4?
Something like that. Yeah. Every single trade we make is just like throw in a 7th round pick while you're at it. Like
dude, it's having extra ammo.
It
never hurts.
Franchise mode, the way they're just like, it's like they're trying to get every little bit they can.
It pretty much is. I'm just pulling up so they still have 2 7-round picks this year, and then they have 4 next year. They also have Edmonton's 4th round pick this year and next year.
And next year, interesting.
Well, because the 4th is from in the McDonough trade. They already had Edmonton's 4th at some other point. I don't know when they got it, but
yeah. I mean, it's just weird to have another team's 4th round picks 2 years in a row, both from different deals, and one of them isn't even from that team. I do love this for the Lightning. We never wanted to move on from McDonough, but he was just a cap casualty. We just had to move him. But now that guys like Alex Killorn and Andre Palat, are off the books, we've moved from them. We have the room to bring them back, and defense was clearly the biggest area of concern for the team this year. He is 34, but he hasn't started slowing down that much yet, which is weird considering he's 34 and plays a pretty block a lot of shots, do quite a bit of hitting style. He's got $6.75 million left on his contract for 2 more years, so it doesn't have a ton of term. I don't see that being a problem considering it's only 2 years, but the biggest thing here is that this screams to me that we are saying we are looking to compete now. The window is not closed. We are going back at it. And I know there's a lot of people thinking, like, is that Stamkos's money? Does that mean he's gone? I think this is the team saying, we want to win now, and we know you want to be a part of it. This makes me think more than ever that Stamkos is re-signing. I don't see any way we bring back Ryan McDonough and then Stamkos leaves. Luckily, Julien Brisebois as well, in the press release where he talked about McDonough, one of the first things he said is, we do still have the money in place to be able to sign Stamkos. Whether he means we literally have it right now or we're going to make room in the future, but he said we have enough to re-sign Stamkos. So it was nice of him to lead with that, because obviously that was going to be the first question from the media there. But I really do love this trade for Tampa, and I love having McDonough back. Dude was absolutely heart and soul for us, and it sounds like he was for the Predators as well. They've had nothing but good things to say about him, especially Trotz. Trotz said a ton of really great things, and
so Trotz was doing right by his player.
Yeah.
I was just curious when this trade happened, because it kind of just came out of nowhere. So I kind of have done some digging with this. So it kind of sounds like it's kind of, from multiple people. So I don't know exactly how it went, but it was kind of like McDonough was, kind of wanted to go and maybe contend a bit more. And I think Nashville was kind of like, all right, we loved what you did here, but we're kind of, in the middle of doing this whole retool, thing and trying to still win with our core guys. And so it sounds like McDonough said, if there's any way you can I at least go back to Tampa? And so then Barry Trotz was basically like, to Brisebois, McDonough wants to come back there. I'm not going to charge you up the wall. Just give me something that,
Yeah, what's gonna make this work?
yeah,
And
like give me something that I can at least justify saying yes to, and he's all yours. So he was doing right by a good veteran and a guy who, like you said, was a great leader for Nashville and liked, by everybody in that organization.
yeah, and they retain no salary on it. And honestly, like this is great for Tampa to get him back, but like overall,
Mhm.
Nashville got a steal for this because we gave them Ryan McDonough and I believe a few pieces so that they would take him when we traded him to them 2 or 3 years ago. And they basically gave up nothing, except actually they cap dumped Philippe Myers onto us, who was making like 2.6 mil.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's
I think that was to make the money work at the time.
and he's just sat in our minor league. Like he's just so that was just kind of dead money. So they got a great player. He played 2 great years there for him, and then we paid them to take him, and now we're paying a second rounder to get him back.
Yeah, it's
So
it's a great move
they got
move by
games played
Nashville
out of
there.
him. He helped develop young guys, and they got paid to do it. So you know what? It
Yeah.
kind of worked out for both teams in that sense.
And I did hear that apparently once McDonough found out he was going back to Tampa, the first person he called was actually Stamkos,
Yeah,
who apparently it was right after Stamkos had gotten off the ice with Kucherov. So I mean, from that alone, like it kind of, and especially with, again, like you mentioned, it's kind of showing that the team's still ready to keep winning with this core, and they're already looking at ways to improve the team for next season. So it does kind of feel like it wouldn't make sense to trade for McDonough and then you let Stamkos walk. Like Stamkos is obviously the priority, and so I got to imagine that they've already got something that they know both sides are going to do. And again, like you said, they either have the money or it's potentially you're looking at having um to move out somebody.
yeah. I think I know a lot of people are expecting Stamkos to sign like a $1 million deal, and I do not think that's going to happen. But I think he'll go as low as like maybe a 5, maybe a 4, but I think that's even a stretch. I think he'd go down to 5 mil per year if we went out and even got maybe somebody else again. Like he every single time we've acquired somebody in the last like year and a half, he's like said in the media like I love that the team is so committed to getting better right now. Like he dude just wants to go for another cup so bad. And
Yeah.
every time he's like we got Duclair and he's like I love this move. It shows we're trying to win still. Like if every single time we sign a guy, he's just so psyched. So if we go out and we can get a little more defensive depth or even forward depth, uh, I don't doubt that if it's like, hey, we need another 500K on this guy's contract to make it work, he's like done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you mentioned Duclair. So looking at this was from, I believe it was Elliot Friedman, who said that now with bringing in McDonough and the money they owe him, that's kind of the money that was going to be there for guys like Duclair and Dumba. So it kind of sounds like those guys
Yeah.
are
I
kind of the guys that are unfortunately won't be
yeah.
re-signed because of this move. But when you're
Yeah.
bringing in McDonough, I mean,
I
like,
apparently was like the only person in the world who wanted Dumba back. I have not seen a single person say that they wanted us to bring back Dumba online. Literally, like everyone is so unanimously like, yeah, we don't need to bring him back. So I don't know.
that's
Maybe he
I
just
didn't
passed
watch
my
enough of the games,
like
so I'm
I
not sure.
yeah, he passed my eye test, but I haven't really looked at his stats. I don't know. Maybe he's a horrible minus or I don't know. Maybe I was just noticing him when he was making plays in the ozone, but uh I really hope we can keep Duclair. It looks like a lot of people are talking about is that Stamkos's money? That was definitely Duclair's money spent on McDonough. So
Yeah.
if we're gonna bring him back, I think at that point you have to move Chernak. His full no trade clause. I think it's a no trade. It might be no move.
Um,
Uh,
it's a no trade clause.
no trade clause. Um, I I don't. It kicks in on July 1st this year. I don't know if we're gonna move him before that, but if we don't, I doubt he'll want to move afterwards.
Yeah, so I've seen numerous reporters have said that, if Tampa is, if the whole plan is you bring in McDonough, you have to move somebody out to re-sign Stamkos. The only two names they thought were viable and, ones that teams would be looking at would be Chernak and Cirelli.
I've seen a couple people throw Cirelli's name out, but
Cirelli gets moved. I think if someone does get moved, it would be Chernak.
Cirelli does a lot of intangible stuff. He takes all the difficult assignments. He's the guy going out there against the McKinnons of the league when we play against them, so that Kucherov and the boys can go out there and work their magic against their second and third lines. Like, he's really good defensively and still puts up generally around like 50 points a year. So I hope we keep him for sure. I would rather move Chernak. I'd rather keep Chernak, but unfortunately his contract doesn't look great with how much time he misses from his injuries.
I was going to say, the only thing I
really pay somebody to take Sheary. That one's a no-brainer. That one's basically done in my head, honestly. He has a modified no trade. That's it's a 16-team trade list. So
yeah, I saw someone on
little limited, but
online put up a mock trade, and I think it was Tanner Jeannot, Nick Paul, and a 7th round pick to San Jose for their second this year. And
no.
I was like, there's absolutely like that. Yeah, I saw that was. I could see a team
Jeannot maybe for a second if you'll take that, but not Paul.
No, sorry, Sheary.
Oh, okay.
Jeannot and Sheary, which is even worse. No, it sounds like Nick Paul's contract is kind of unmovable, and he's also got a no trade clause.
Unmovable. It's a fantastic contract.
3.2 for.
It's unmovable because we don't want to move it.
Bottom 6 center.
Well, bottom 6 center, but I have no idea what his stats are, but I think they're good.
I don't know his stats, but
no, he is 100% worth that. Like on the open market, he'd be making 5.5. Okay, that's that as a free agent, but like re-signing with this team would probably be 4.5.
That's a bit. 5.5 is quite a bit high.
24 goals, 46 points this year.
Yeah, 24 goals.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? Yeah, never mind then.
For 46 points, dude, and he, plays with some grit. He's a guy who translates to the playoffs. Like that's I don't know how much of an underpay it is, but for the next 5 years at 3.15,
I think it's a fair
I really
deal.
like it.
That's actually that's not a bad deal. The only thing I've left to say on this is if Eric Chernak gets traded, I would just be curious to see what that kind of deal would be. Like, could they get like a 2nd round pick back for him, or would they have to like attach something? Like, I'm curious to see what. I
can't even guess. Like if we're moving Jeannot, Jeannot's even kind of hard to tell. Sheary, we're paying somebody to take him. We're attaching a 3rd and saying, here you go, deal with this contract for 1 more year.
There's no way they trade Jeannot. There's after the fucking boatload they gave up for him, there is no way that the same GM is now going to attach assets to get rid of him.
Unfortunately, he hasn't been the guy we wanted. He's been fine. People act like he's been horrible, but like he's been decent. I would like to see us bring him back because I loved his game in his rookie year. It was incredible. And
they will not trade him. They will not trade him. If anything, it would be Sheary to dump one of those two.
There's no way absolutely be Sheary. I'm wondering if they have to move more than that to free up the room. But like with both Jeannot and especially Chernak, I don't know if you get assets back for moving them. I don't know if you have to pay to get rid of them. Like I literally don't know because they both have great upside, but both of their contracts are not fantastic right now.
Jeannot, I don't think you have to pay much to. Like you might not even have to pay at all if you're sending him to like an Anaheim, a San Jose, a Chicago, like a bad team that has lots of cap space.
Yeah,
you probably
Chicago
be able to get like a
7th at least.
Yeah, you might even be able to actually just get like a shitter prospect they don't want, or
a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th.
Well, they're not buying for them; they're taking them. But Chernak, I don't even know for that.
Yeah, because he still plays at 5.2 mil value, but that's when he's healthy. And he's not even injury prone. He just, the way he plays, he blocks every shot that ever happens while he's on the ice, and he hits everything that moves. Like, he doesn't play a style that's very sustainable for a long time. So it's a weird one to try and dissect, but.
And I know I asked you this the other day, but the fact that he's right-handed, I think, kind of maybe ups his trade value a bit, because like there's a lot of teams that are looking for help on the right side.
Yeah, that is in high demand as well. So we'll see. I think I was telling you the other day, but something about him just like screams Calgary Flames. I don't know. Maybe it's just because at one point they had like 6 defensemen who were all like top 4 defensemen. Like, all of their defense were so solid, but they didn't have any like true all-star defensemen. Like, he just kind of fits that mold, but there's something in my head just like keeps bringing me back to that idea.
Flames are a team that do need help on defense on the right side. So maybe that's a guy they sniff around.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. We can move on to the Devils now, though. Enough about the Lightning. We could talk about the Devils signing big ol' Sheldon Keefe. Is he the big fish? Is he the big fish of coaching free agency, or was that Berube?
No, it was Berube. Not when it wasn't even close. They're not even in the same stratosphere.
I couldn't tell because all the news was about who are the Leafs going to sign, and obviously they're not going to sign the guy they fired. So.
Oh, Berube was the big fish, and I think that's why the Sheldon Keefe thing is happening now, is because New Jersey didn't get Berube, because I'm pretty sure they were in on.
He definitely met with them at the least. Sounded like.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's not much to say with this. Like, it was kind of obvious that, Keefe was going to get a job somewhere. It kind of sounds like it was either New Jersey, or I heard Seattle was rumored. I don't know if that went anywhere, but knew he was going to find a job somewhere. I don't love it for New Jersey. I love it for Sheldon Keefe. Like, he got kicked out of Toronto there, and I think he's walking into an even better situation with the Devils now. Looking at not only the the talent that they have that is very close to being on par, or within the next year will be on par with Toronto's, but it's on much cheaper deals. And so you're able to have more depth finally on your forward core, more depth on your Bruins, top end defensemen, like multiples. He just got fired, and he got walked into an even better situation. So, and it is a 4-year deal. So, as I mentioned in the last episode, however, I don't know again how much he's making now with the Devils and how much with Toronto, but Toronto will be paying for some of his salary the first 2 years with the Devils now.
Yeah, and obviously it's different than with players. Coaches can get fired at any time, but yeah, it's really one of those we'll have to wait and see things. Like, it's hard to tell, because his first coaching gig in the NHL was with the Leafs in this incredibly cursed era, even though they had like a ton of regular season success. So it's so hard to know what's gonna happen with this team. Like, is everything gonna fall in place? Does it turn out that the players were the chokers and the Devils are awesome and they go far in the playoffs and they win a cup? Or is it gonna be, the Leafs look really good under Berube, maybe Sheldon Keefe doesn't know what he's talking about in the locker room, and like, do you see a world where Keefe gets fired in a year, where if the Devils miss the playoffs again, and if the Leafs go to like the third or the round or the finals or something under a new coach?
No, Keefe. There's no way Keefe would, like, he's got at least 2 years in there with New Jersey. Especially because like they like I've said, they've got this great young core. They're already going to take a step going into next year. They were terrific in the playoffs a couple years ago, and they got there. Like, this is a coach they're bringing in to be the coach of their team that they've built. Like, they don't need to keep, this year kind of just injuries for them and bad goaltending, which I think they're gonna fix. Hopefully, now that they've got Keefe.
But if something comes up to keep them from the playoffs next year,
no,
you
they
clearly have a playoff roster. You have to make the playoffs.
Well, and I think they do if they bring in it. Like, again, goaltending was the thing that really killed them, and so they tried to scramble at the deadline, and maybe some magic would happen. But again, I'd probably still expect them in the offseason to again kind of go back and look at Allmark and try again with Markstrom, and then
I definitely expect
I think
he's got at least the playoffs.
He's got at least a 2-year leash that they've given him.
I definitely expect them to make the playoffs, but if they finish the same they did this year, where they were out of the playoff race, not only did they not make it, but they were out of the playoff race for the last 3-4 games of the season, I wouldn't be too shocked if he got fired, because this team's got high
only way is if he would get fired is if they bring in an elite goalie there, and then they go through the regular season. I don't know what they would do at the deadline, but if but then it's if their core guys, like their top 6 forwards, their top 4 defensemen, if they all play 70 plus games, then maybe it's a conversation, because it's all right, you had the goalie, you have the team, they were healthy. What's the excuse here?
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. If Jack Hughes plays 30 games next year and they miss, you can't put that on the coach.
Exactly. So it would, a lot of things would have to align completely straight to even considering firing him. But anything can happen.
Also heavily depend on what coaches are available. If there's nobody available, what's the point? But if a Jim Montgomery or something for whatever reason is available, perhaps a Derek Lalonde, then maybe they'll think about it.
Yeah,
I've heard rumors that he's a little bit on the hot seat if they don't make the playoffs next year, because they were hoping to this year. They didn't. They got close, but they came up short. If they don't make it again, that might be tough for both Yzerman and Lalonde.
Well, I don't think Yzerman's going,
because the Red Wings really want to win, and hasn't quite happened yet.
I think they're so close to being there. They've still got a lot of good young players that are, still coming up and
being in the playoffs. But I don't see them being a team that's close to competing,
doing
for the
damage.
Cup. Yeah, they'll just be a Washington Capitals or a New York Islanders getting into the playoffs this year, where they're they'll sneak in, but that means they're matched up against the Rangers, and then they go out in 5 games or less.
Yeah, it's
then again, who knows? Maybe Dylan Larkin will drop 100 points next season. If Seider can go back to what he looked like he was gonna be, then they're set. They've got so many young, talented guys coming up too. They got who do they got in net? Sebastian Cossa, is he with them?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he plays next
Cossa
year.
Coming up, they got several elite-looking young guys. The one defenseman, Edvinson, something like that.
Yep, Simone Edvinson. Yeah, and I know I've read that they are going to try hard to re-sign Kane. So it'll be interesting to see if they bring him back. Then it shows they're going all in. Actually, we do have one other coaching news. We now know for sure that, we don't have to talk about this much because we already kind of know the situation. But Jim Hiller has officially now had his title removed as interim head coach with the LA Kings, as he is now the permanent head coach for them. Which I have no problems with that for them. I think that's awesome. I think he, came into a rough situation when they had to fire McClellan, and I think he, if anything, only kind of made the Kings better and kind of really turned them into that defensive powerhouse again.
Yeah. Where do you think McClellan ends up? Do you have any feelings?
I'm not even entirely sure.
I have one.
What jobs are even open anymore?
I don't
San
know.
Jose, Seattle,
I don't even
Winnipeg,
know if it's open, but
St. Louis.
Does Utah have a head coach?
Yeah.
Like, are they just bringing all their guys? Like,
Yeah, it sounds like they're keeping the same staff and bringing them all on for at least what it sounds like right now.
and it's not like their coach has done a bad job. He hasn't had a great roster to work with, and they even finished higher than some people would have thought, right? But
He's been great at helping develop their young players coming up, though. He's been terrific for them, and they're going to need that as they,
How common is it to sign like a big free agent name as a coach and then just demote your head coach to the assistant? Like, does that ever happen?
No.
That'd be
I don't
such a
think
power move.
I don't think any head coach would take that because they know they're getting paid either way. So it's
Yeah. Well, and
I'm not going to get treated like this and get demoted to being an assistant coach now and be a laughing stock. Like, no.
Yeah, and plus they can go somewhere else if they want, right? And then make their money elsewhere as well. So
I think a coach would rather get paid millions to just not coach than to get little brothered by some other coach and get paid millions to have that happen to him.
Which I wouldn't see it as that, just because, it's like, Todd McClellan, like, a bona fide, a good, very solid head coach, you just want to bring him in, but at the same time, that would be shitty, you're coaching somewhere for a bit and then you get
pushed. Tell him to get in line. Tell him to come in as the assistant coach, and when you guys are done with me, he can step in as head coach.
Hey, you know what? They should offer him an assistant coach job.
Yeah, I don't know with McClellan. I know that San Jose interviewed Marco Sturm, who's the current head coach of LA's AHL team, as well as Jeremy Colleton, I think that's how you pronounce the last name, who's the current head coach of Vancouver's AHL team. And then I really haven't heard much on any other kind of rumors of head coaches.
Yeah, it seems like there's not a ton of rumors until 2 hours before a guy signs. Like they're keeping it close to the vest here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull up what all teams are. So Winnipeg, Seattle, San Jose, and that's it. Just those three now. Because I guess there was really kind of only the because St. Louis has Drew Bannister. So it's just those three teams. So there's not a whole lot of in Seattle, I've actually heard Dan Balsma's in that mix.
What about Todd McClellan to Winnipeg? They got a couple guys from Winnipeg over there already.
I think that would be a fun hire for Winnipeg. I'm not
like a good defensive team. It kind of makes sense with what LA's kind of MO has been over the past several years. Like they've got more offensive firepower up front, but like they still play a good defensive style. So I could see it.
I definitely could see, and I think that would actually be very entertaining. But I haven't heard anything regarding McClellan, and I heard like Seattle potentially, but I haven't heard a single thing about Winnipeg. I have actually also heard, you might not like this, but the Sharks, I guess it sounds like there's been like no talks, but they are interested in Jeff Halpern as well.
Oh no, but don't take Halpern.
There hasn't been anything actually like concrete there. It's just apparently they're interested if he's open to stepping into a head coach role.
I'm sure he loves his job in Tampa, but if you can be a head coach in the NHL, it can be a no-brainer. That's a pretty big upgrade. We already had Lalonde, our old assistant coach, poached by Stevie Y, so I wouldn't be surprised to see our next assistant coach grabbed as well.
Well, and it's like we said a couple weeks ago when the Sharks won the draft lottery, like that's what makes their position there more enticing. Whereas, looking at him last year, it's like, what coach would even want to touch that? But adding a first overall pick into that mix kind of makes it a little bit more exciting for a coach to come in there.
Yeah, like I can't imagine anyone wanted to go to Chicago before, but now that they have Bedard,
exactly, it's right.
People
it's
want to go there.
I get the opportunity to coach Bedard. Like that's still something people talk about to this day. Is Todd McClellan got the honors of coming in as being brought in as the head coach when they got McDavid, and he got to be the McDavid's first head coach in Edmonton. So yeah, that's a thing that some guys really take pride in. So it'll be interesting to see. But for McClellan, I mean, it's starting to get slim now. It's starting to get slim for him. Slim pickings.
We don't have. Do we have anything else really? We really just had a couple small things there.
There's not much to talk about with it, just to kind of highlight over it.
Sure.
In the IIHF World Hockey Championship, they just finished up the first round of the playoffs earlier today, the very first round. So just kind of to go through, keep everybody updated on how that's going. The very first game, Canada beat Slovakia by a score of 6-3. The other game taking place at that time, Switzerland beat Germany 3-1. So Canada and Switzerland will now play in the second round. And then the afternoon games, which were the B-side games, Sweden beat Finland in overtime 2-1. I'll just quickly pull up who got the OT winner here. Joel Eriksson, that's right. And then Czechia knocked off the Americans by a score of 1-0.
Yeah, and it was funny. Afterwards, the president of Czechia tweeted out congratulating not just the team, but specifically Lucas Dostal for his win against the U.S.
Well, I mean, it was in Czechia.
Yeah, and it was
as
a
well.
It was a 1-0 win, right? So it was
a
shutout.
The crowd was going nuts.
That'd be pretty cool to get a shutout in a game like that, and then your president tweets like, "Hey, nice job at you." Like,
yeah,
like that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was just trying to find. I thought I had it here. It was just some stats about teams' histories at the tournament. It was something like now the Americans haven't won a gold medal in this tournament, and it was something like 88 years or something. It was just a very, very wild stat for how good they've been over the last,
Yeah, that's wild.
Forever. Like it's been that long since they've won one in the tournament, but I can't find it here. But something along those lines. But yeah, just kind of brushing over that so everybody is kept up to date on what's going on in that tournament, because there's been a lot of good games that have taken place over there so far.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. There was a really good clip going around of Radko Gudas grabbing Brady Tkachuk basically by the throat. He doesn't really do anything once he grabs it. He just grabs him like Kane, like Undertaker going for a choke slam. Like he just reaches out and grabs him by the throat and then just kind of stands there. It's pretty funny to watch. Obviously Tkachuk's thrashing around and moving, and that was pretty funny, especially because it's two kind of shitbirds in the getting into it there. But
yeah, but that was kind of the last bit of oh, actually one more thing, not coaching related but GM related. Apparently Carolina gave Don Woodall permission to speak to other teams, as his current contract is expiring this year with the Hurricanes, like everyone else. And it sounds like he did interview with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So that's something to maybe keep an eye on and see if
that makes sense.
Because it kind of sounds like Carolina's like assistant GM. I can't remember his name, but it sounds like he's kind of ready to take over the helm there for the Hurricanes. So they're allowing Woodall to kind of see what's out there and give him a chance to maybe find a job somewhere else.
That's interesting because they kind of have similar roster makeups. Obviously, very different in this overall skill department, but Columbus has a lot of good defensemen and a lot of really good young upcoming defensemen in their system as well. And that's what Carolina has been notorious for over the past several years. Like their eighth defenseman is often better than the other team's sixth defenseman. Like
Yeah.
their defensive depth is unmatched. So it's kind of interesting that he's looking at maybe going there. It'd be really interesting to see. Are they officially does Columbus not have a GM? Did they officially fire Kekalainen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like they fired him. Yeah, they fired him. I can't like a bit ago now. Actually, I think wasn't it like just before the deadline or something?
I was gonna say I think it
It
was
actually
like
right
in
before the trade
season.
deadline. Yeah, and so then they just had someone kind of step in as interim.
The assistant,
um,
the assistant GM just like became the interim one or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being a good fit for sure.
So that's something to maybe keep an eye on, because that's really the only kind of news there is about anything regarding GMs. I think everybody else is kind of safe in their jobs. So
Yeah. I think that's all we've got, unless you have anything else you wanted to bring up.
nope, yeah, no, that's all I got.
I can do the scoring leaders and stuff again. It's a lot of the same names, but we can quickly go through them. Let's do for points in the playoffs. Usually I just do the top 3, but instead I'll go to the top however many people it takes to get to somebody not on Edmonton. With 25 points, Leon Draisaitl is leading the NHL in playoff scoring, followed by Connor McDavid with 23, Evan Bouchard with 21, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with 17, and Matthew Tkachuk with 16. And for goals, we got Zach Hyman with 12, Nichushkin with 9, and Draisaitl with 9 as well. Then we got Chris Kreider, Carter Verhaeghe, Brock Besser, and Wyatt Johnston all at 7. And for goalies, we got for goals saved above expected, Jeremy Swayman with a 13.3, Igor Shesterkin with an 8.4, Sergei Bobrovsky with a 5.3, and Jake Ottinger with a 5.2. And then for the save percentages, we got Jeremy Swayman with a 933, Shesterkin with a 923, Ottinger with a 918, and a Bobrovsky with a 909. So Bobrovsky started really strong in the first round, kind of dropped in the second, but he's building his stats back up very nicely in the going into the third round here. So
phenomenal game 1 against the Rangers already to start that series off.
Yeah, so they might have to watch out for that, because it's very possible the playoffs to get goalied.
Yeah.
But those
was that all of them?
Yeah, those are all the leaders in the major stats categories. Let's check out who's the top guy in plus minus. Evan Bouchard on the Oilers. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
As well as Gustav Forsling, Bouchard with 13, Forsling with 10, and Tyler Seguin with plus 8.
Hey, there's Seguin again.
Like we were saying, 10 points in 14 games. Dude's turning back the clock.
Yeah, and they're going to need him throughout the rest of the series against the Oilers.
Yeah, especially if Hintz can't come back. Hopefully he is back as expected for game 2.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big story going into it. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that and see how that goes for him. See if he suits up or not. I think he will, but we'll see.
I think he will. But that's all I got for the stats. So I guess we can wrap it up then if we got nothing else.
Yeah, that's everything. Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. I don't know what we're doing next week. We haven't decided. If, I guess, depending on the large amount of news, we might be having another one in the early next week, or we might just be back next Friday. We haven't decided on that, right?
That's kind of where we're. Yeah, and as well, for a little bit of extra transparency, tomorrow morning, that'll be the Friday morning, like just before the episode comes out, I'll be getting my wisdom teeth out. Obviously, you do that once, which means I've never had that done. So I have no idea if I'll be ready to talk about hockey on a podcast for an hour come Monday. So, that might play into it as well as the news. So we'll see if I'm ready to record a podcast by then. I can't imagine I won't be able to by next Friday though, like at the latest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got no idea, so we'll just kind of play it by ear. And if you guys want to stay updated on what the situation is going to be, you can find out on any of our socials. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SEU Hockey. Come throw us a follow. It's not super often we have to do a kind of updates like this, but like if depending on what goes on, we'll put an update out so you guys will know whether or not you'll be getting an early one next week or not.
And as long as we're good to go on that Monday, even if there's no news, maybe we'll just do a shorter one. Maybe we'll just do a little bit of trivia. Maybe we'll cover a couple of the teams that didn't make the playoffs and maybe give a couple updates on those. Just some other general upkeep around the league. There's plenty of teams that we haven't talked about in a little bit here, so I'm sure we can find something if we want to on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. So once again, thank you, Toby, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.